Like everyone's just dying to jump in. All right. It's Mindset Monday. And today's conversation, I wanted to jump into and raise your hand or throw a thumbs up and the reactions or whatever. How many of you are listening to or have read or have any or understand anything to do with the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins? Anyone? Yes. And if you don't know about this book right now, and if you haven't been diving into some of the content from Mel around this Let Them theory, it's wonderful, it's affirming, and it's also really tactical and powerful. And so today's conversation is I'd love to share just a couple ahas and takeaways that I've got so far on like the first half of the book around managing and maintaining your own personal power, removing stress, and also removing or seeing where she shares a really cool story at the very, very beginning. Where how many of you have ever like gone online or whatever and you've seen like a friend group do something without you and you're like, what? But no one even, I mean, I didn't even know about it. What? Why didn't they call me? What did I? And then you instantly go to what did I do? What did I say? Who did I offend? What are they saying about me? They're obviously talking about me the whole time that they're there because otherwise, why would right? And so we take this personally. I think also we're in a really interesting and unique business where it's kind of funny because my wife doesn't really understand what we do, but she has put stuff on Facebook Marketplace. And if anyone's ever tried to sell something on Facebook Marketplace, it's a very fascinating environment where people will reach out to you and go, "Hey, is this thing still available?" And you're like, "Yes, would you like to know more?" And then they're gone. Or like, "Yes, I'd love to come get it." And I'm like, "Perfect. When would you like to come?" Nothing. It's like the land of ghosting. And you're sitting there going, "What in the heck? What actually is happening here?" Well, can you hold it for me? No, no holds. Ghosts. And so in our world, oftentimes when we're following up with leads, or someone will reach out to you on your website and say, "Hey, I'd like more information on this property," or "I'd like to do this or that." And then, or somebody comes to your open house, you have a really great conversation with them. They give you information and then you try to reach out and then there's nothing. And then there's ghosting. And then what happens generally to our mindset when we get ghost after ghost after ghost, non-response, non-response, non-response after a while? What generally happens? How like I can tell you what happens to me. How do you guys process that? What are the thoughts that come to your mind when you're reaching out, ghost, or you reach out and they're like, "Why are you even calling me?"
Like, what's wrong with me?
Mhm. I think of that song, like nobody likes me, everybody hates me, because
I
I'll
just
go
think
eat
I'll eat
worms.
worms.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Uh,
That's not, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
yeah.
um, think about this, right? Like, here's what's interesting, and we share this before. As far as managing your own power and your mindset, I think we can live a pretty happy life when we limit our expectations of others and our attempt to control any situation or scenario. And the only thing we can control is us. And this whole let them theory is really about that. It's about releasing the need to feel like we can control every scenario or situation and just let them. They don't want to invite you, let them. They don't want to use you, let them. They, you know, whatever it is, let them. And what's interesting, and the second part of this, which I've been finding really fascinating, is so the first part, the let them, isn't about, and I love the way she worded it about moral superiority. It's not like, well, let them because I don't need them or I'm better than, or it's not even let them and like let it go or forgive. It's just let them do what they're going to do. They're showing you who they are. And then the second part is about taking your power back. And it says, let me do what I want to do and need to do. And so one of the posts that I shared last week, which actually, interesting enough, I was surprised that it got so much traction and conversation. Apparently it hit a nerve with some people. Was I realized there were some relationships in my life that I was doing 100% of the effort maintaining the relationship. And some of those relationships, as I'm sitting there thinking, if I never reach back out to this individual, I don't know if we'll ever talk again. And then when thinking about the whole let them theory, it's like, well, am I okay with that? And if I'm okay with that, then I guess I need to be okay with that. So I got to let them. I got to just let them go away. However, the other side of it is then, well, but here's the thing: there are some people where I'm okay with maintaining the burden of the relationship because I really value the relationship and the friendship. And so the other side is, well, let me pour into those that I really want to pour into that bring value to me, right? I get to control who I want to reach out to, connect with, how often I want to follow up with certain individuals because I really like, when we get together, et cetera. So I like, I'm just kind of pitching this conversation, this opportunity. I'd love to hear kind of if anyone else who's also reading it, has read it, how you've experienced the concept of the let them theory, and how are you using it and applying it in your day to day to manage your energy and to maintain power, to maintain your own personal power. Who'd like to share?
So I haven't read it yet, but I've listened to one of her podcasts where she was talking about it. It's actually next on my Audible list. Um, but you and I have had conversations around it too. And I've found whenever I actually say the words, let them, it like releases something in my brain and it's like, okay, it's just gone. Instead of me stewing on things, like if I just think it, I'll just let them, the thoughts continue. I have to actually say it. And then it literally is like, okay, I can just let this go and move on to the next thing. But I've noticed like an actual, okay, like I just take a breath and I just move on instead of before I would have sat and made up the stories in my head. We've talked about that. Just why? What's wrong with me? Why don't they want to talk to me? Why didn't they call me? Well, like all of the things, right? But if I just say it, then I can just let them and I can just move on and I have more peace after that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Anyone else?
So
What comes?
I have a house listed in the town that I used to live in,
Uh-huh.
and the seller calls me and he's like, "Hey, the buyer is this person." And I was like, "That's weird because I just sold their house." And he was like, "Yeah, she recommended you to us, but now she's using another realtor." And I'm like, literally, what did I do wrong? And I was like, well, they weren't super thrilled that their house actually sold. The job that they hired me to do, they weren't
Oh.
real thrilled with me because I sold the house. I was like, well, oh well.
Yeah, let them.
Yeah. My mom was like, oh, I'm like, oh
Get
well, don't have to
all
deal with
fired
that
up.
crazy no more.
Yeah, let them be who they are, right? And then let me continue to do what I do, right? Continue to get better, continue to learn. What I love about this concept, as far as, and I just, even the last 3 days, I caught myself over the weekend with, my daughters, getting ready for stuff. Like I felt like we're constantly like late, pushing, like always behind, etc. But it's like it's to their stuff, not my stuff. I'm not late to anything. I'm trying to help them maintain their commitment to where they're supposed to be. And they're running behind and they're doing all these things, etc. And I guess I'm just sitting there going, why am I getting all fired up if they don't care if they're on time? So I'm like, well, they're running around. Their water's not full, and this is that, and their shoes are here, whatever. Let them. They don't know where they put their stuff because they just walk in and throw stuff like where they're supposed to. Like they just throw stuff as they walk and they create a trail of chaos. And they don't know where their stuff is because we put things away and they're like, where is it? And it's not where I put it. And like, well, it's not where it belongs. And they get mad. I'm like, oh, just let them. My wife would be like getting all fired about stuff. I'm like, hey, just let her not take a jacket. She'll be cold. It's totally fine. Let them. It's just really fascinating. The other side of this is the empowering part, right? The taking back the power. And when I think about, an appointment or a meeting, or you're in a conversation, or you're up against, and you're going for a listing, or you're working on getting a buyer, or maybe even bringing an agent onto your team, or you're interviewing somebody to join your organization, and then they just choose to do otherwise. They just choose something else. And I used to get so real up in my head about, okay, well, what don't they like about me? What did I do wrong? What did I say wrong, etc. And then I would take it super personal, and it would like really hurt my feelings. But then right now, at this point, it's like, okay, congratulations, all the best, good luck. And then let me go back and reevaluate. What could I have done different? What could I have brought to the table? How do I prep? How do I have a better presentation? How much was I selling versus listening? Did I ask enough questions? Did I really get to what their true motivation is, or did I attempt to bypass and just assume that I had the opportunity? Right? And I found that in the areas where I've lost a listing, lost a potential client, or lost an opportunity to gain a new partner, I I minimize, or I didn't spend enough time in what their true motivation was and helping apply a solution. I was selling. I just got really excited to talk about features and benefits versus getting deeper into, tell me a little bit more about why we're meeting. What's important about that? What happens if it doesn't happen? If nothing changes, what's the outcome? Are you okay with that? How long do you want to continue going this way? If we could collapse that and make that happen today or sooner versus a year or 3 years from now, would that be a benefit? Would you be open to seeing what that looks like? When I didn't take the time to have those conversations because I just assumed, I lost. Right? So the let them and then let me in that scenario empowered me to get really introspective of like, okay, what could I do better? What am I not doing that I should be doing? Or what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? And those are two really good questions that you should have and ask yourself, and maybe apply it in your own let them let me philosophy is, okay, what am I not doing that I should be doing? Or what am I doing that I know I shouldn't be doing? So how do you get better? Those are two really powerful questions that I like to use whenever I'm stuck in one of those scenarios. Other thoughts? I don't want to be the only one talking today. Let's have
I had a situation that I mean it was really it was really crappy. It was like a $525,000 listing, literally almost to a house that has the exact same address as me, that is just on the other side of the road. And I mean, it's not in my subdivision, it's like on the other side of the street. The girl was like, she was really pretty difficult. She had an entire like sob story and everything when I had gone over there about having cancer, and like she was like a few months behind like on her mortgage and everything. And I had gotten contractors over there, tried to help her like get stuff ready and everything to sell the house. It'd been like a couple-week process. I was like telling her, you cannot get like any, further behind on your mortgage. Because like I said, she was over 60 days late already. And so I went to, it was a day of staging. We were supposed to have like staging, and then right after the staging was supposed to be, like the photos were getting taken that afternoon. So I get over there with a staging company, which, full disclosure, my sister happens to work for the staging company. So she was like the main stager that was there. And I mean, she's like came to me. She had like a king size bed mattress in the family room. I mean, the place was like atrocious. There was stuff everywhere. And they were like, and she had little cameras like all over the house. And a bunch of them were making like comments about how messy the house was and like stuff. I mean, it was it was really bad, but they all, I mean, it was also probably shouldn't have been saying anything either. And she, after, like after they were there, they like came to me and they're like, there's like no way we can stage this house. Like, I mean, it's too bad. Like, it's not ready at all. So I went in there to have a conversation with her, and she was like, she was furious. She was like, I mean, it was, I just kind of was like, why don't we just give it a couple days, like, we'll get the rest of this stuff cleaned up, get everything done, like let's do it the right way, so we're not, just so everything looks right. I was like really calm and everything about it. And then I left. She ended up sending me like a message, afterwards, and seemed like everything was cool, like there wasn't a problem. And then like when the couple days had passed that I was supposed to go back over there, and I had like a contract with her and everything, like it wasn't, I mean, we were ready to go. And then all of a sudden she just sends me a message and tells me she'd go in a different direction. She hired somebody else from my office to list the house. Then when they went over there, she criticized me, which they fortunately knew me and knew that that did not make my character at all. And I tried really, I mean, it was hard. Like I kept going back to it for like a couple weeks. And I finally got to the point where I was like, every time that I am saying yes to holding on to this and to these memories, I like, and I'm putting too much into this, and I'm giving it too much of my attention. I'm saying no to like something else that I could be doing. I'm saying no to another opportunity, to helping somebody else. Like all I was doing with this particular person was trying to help her make her house look right, and to be able to put our best foot forward. And obviously there might have been something that I could have done. I mean, I don't know if she heard something on the cameras that is what really like, infuriated her. But the only reason I'm sharing it is like I've definitely moved on from it. It hurt, it stung, like it sucked. But it's really just about you got to let those things go, and you have to move on, because there was somebody else waiting behind that actually cared about me helping them and making their house look nice and selling it. And I know I would have sold her house for way more than the people that sold it for if I had been the one who did it. So
Yeah, I feel like we talked about when we were talking about worthy, right? And she says rejection is God's protection. And Mel also talks about rejection being, was it redirection?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that same whole, like they all tie in nicely together from that perspective of maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe it's not like, it's not you. It's just your path, your purpose, your timing, their path, their purpose. Something isn't supposed to be in alignment. Um, I am so thankful for Rochelle because she sometimes smacks me around a little bit when I am having some difficult thoughts. And, a few weeks ago, I was having kind of a pity party about just someone seeing my value, not feeling like I was being valued, like they were seeing my value and I didn't understand why they weren't seeing my value. And she said, I think actually, Rochelle, you referred back to let them. I think you said let them and referred back to the book, but then you also said, what, they're just not your people. And sometimes you have to just work through the fact that sometimes they're just not your people and you're not meant to be in their life, or they're not meant to be in your life at the time, the moment, or forever.
no, I agree with you. I say all the time, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So stop trying to make yourself everyone's cup of tea. You have no idea how hard this was for me to like get to this. Yeah. I can see Matt. So I mean, it was seriously like so hard because I'm like such a people pleaser, and I want so bad to like, yeah. And honestly, like when I see something that it's such an easy fix for somebody, and I want to like help them fix it. And I realize I cannot want things for them more than they want them for themselves.
Ooh, here we go. Okay, good. This is two topics right here. So number one, what you just said is probably one of the most important things I've learned over the last 15 years in coaching and leading is oftentimes we want to go straight to the answer. And what we do though is we remove somebody's opportunity to learn and discover. When we just give somebody an answer, we haven't taught them how to find a solution. And then they have no ownership in the answer. It's your answer now, as opposed to they came up to the right conclusion. So in coaching, oftentimes people would come with a problem. I'm like, all right, well, just do this. And I go, and I'm like, duh, that's the simplest way for you to get from here to here. But then they're like, okay. And then next week we come back and I was like, so did you do the thing? And they're like, no, I didn't. I wasn't really feeling it. And I'm like, but you asked you had a problem. I gave you the answer. Why don't you want to do it? And they're like, because it's not my thing. So it may take 3 or 4 more extra questions when somebody has a problem or that comes to you to help them get to the answer that you were going to give them anyway. However, this is the most important part. Authorship is ownership. People will only buy into what they come up with. Otherwise, it's prescriptive. And when we're just meeting somebody and there's no rapport built, any suggestion is for other, it's almost like being told versus it's not a partnership. You're not even a consultant. You're not even bringing a solution. If there's not enough rapport build, relationship connection, any coaching is criticism. People feel almost attacked. Now, if you just ask questions and help them get to the answer, now they have authorship. And now when you come back and it's like, okay, so when we met last time and we talked about what you wanted to do to the thing, you said, okay, I was going to do this. And I was like, cool. What are you committed to doing the thing? Yes. And I'm like, great. I agree. This is good. Let's get back. When we come back and I said, did you do the thing? And they're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, okay, well, what got in the way of your goals? And then now we have another opportunity to learn. So what you just said, Brooke, is great. Sometimes we see the solution so clearly. The worst thing that we can do is jump straight to the answer because that people resist, even when you're giving them the solution. Our kids do the same thing. You know exactly what they need to do. We can't just tell them to do it. And they're like, I don't want to do it because you told me to do it, as opposed to helping them come up with the solution, right? So that's the number one thing. The second thing in this book, and we only have 3 minutes left here, and the image that I got around this was this. Like, if you think about your attempt to control all scenarios, is kind of like driving in your car and keeping it from moving on the bumps, right? Like if you've got a cup full without a lid, like, so sometimes I drive with something like this, which is ridiculous. I know I've got cups with lids, but sometimes I'm drinking this and I go into the car with this and it's full. And sometimes I let my daughter right now is learning how to drive. So she drives to school. She's not very smooth with stopping and starting. And so sometimes I get to wear this cup if I'm not paying attention. Now, if I just had this cup sitting in the cup holder, like full, and it's like stuck to the car and the car is moving with the bumps, what do you think is going on with the inside of what's in the cup? It splashes everywhere. Now, I can try really hard to try to keep the car from bouncing, but is that going to stop the coffee from spilling? In fact, the harder I attempt to control the car, the worse the spilling is going to get. What can I do to eliminate the spilling? I can take this thing away from the car and I can hold it, but am I holding it firm and with a hard hand? No, I've got to hold it loosely. And when the car moves, I got to just let this thing move with it. I've got to actually soften. I've got to release control and kind of be like that floating arm thing, if you will, right? Ramil's doing it right now. He's bouncing all over the place. He's going over speed bumps, probably hit a few people. If he was holding a cup of coffee hard, it'd be all over him. So like the image was like, I don't know, let go, let God. You attempt to control that resistance hurts, resistance fights. While shopping at Walmart, let them. Oh my gosh. We were just in Costco.
ODD is?
Say again?
Do you know what ODD is?
Say it. I don't.
Oppositional defiance disorder.
Say that one more time.
Oppositional defiance disorder.
Okay.
I have a real problem with it. If you tell me to do something, I absolutely
You instantly resist, even if it's exactly the right thing to do.
Yeah, but if you ask me, how's it going? How did you do this? Like, I'm gonna fess up.
What do you want to do to fix it?
Yeah, but if you tell me to do it, no way.
We're done.
I've turn that into how to handle people with that. And I get a lot less resistance when I'm like, you need to replace the roof or, you know, what do you think about this piece of crap roof? So
Yeah, what do you think about all these water spots in the ceiling and these missing shingles? What do you think about that? Anyways, I know we're right up against time here. I highly, highly, highly recommend the read. I love listening to Mel. She tells great stories. She's super personal. She's super vulnerable. She brings in a lot of real, like, personal stories about her son going to prom and all these other things. I mean, it's really, really cool. Like, you feel like you get to know her pretty personally. So highly, highly, highly recommend the Let Them to take back your power. So what's interesting is you gain power by letting go. You actually get control by releasing things. You gut laughed? You got what did we say something funny? No, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It should be next on your list.
Okay, before you call it a day, Audra's going to go over open houses on Workshop Wednesday. We know we've been like blowing up. I don't know about you guys across your other areas, but we have had some busy, busy open houses. So I just wanted to put a plug for that for you guys to join us again on Wednesday so we can walk you through all the things open houses.
Heck yeah. Awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Have an amazing week, y'all.
Thanks, man.
See you Wednesday.